Hello and welcome to Through a Therapist's Eyes. This is Chris Gazdick and you are Craig Graves. I have come to learn, right?
That is true, sir.
This is episode what? They're starting to blend together. I can't keep the numbers straight.
This is episode 15.
Episode 15 is a good one. Love and Logic is going to be talking about parent and dealing with these things we call kiddos.
It'd be a short show, huh?
Quote from DW. She was talking about it today. She's like, I should have wrote it down. Parenting kids is one of the most difficult things you can do.
No.
DW, quote, got you, DW. Welcome to Through a Therapist's Eyes, where we invite you to see the world through the lens of a real mental health and substance abuse therapist. The goal is to create emotional growth through the medium of this podcast. Be aware it's not a delivery of therapy in any way. Feedback and discussion is not only welcome, but sought on the website. We're going to change it to say podcast/blog, right?
Yes.
Have we done that?
Not yet.
All right, we're going to do that.
By the time this show is published, it should be.
Woohoo. Throughatherapist's.com. We are sponsored in part by Metrolina Psychotherapy Associates, located in Belmont, North Carolina, doing adolescent, children's, couples, and the elderly as well. So, founded in July of 2010, striving with you to create emotional growth. 704-461-8253 and metpsych.com. Metpsych.com I've seen hits on, Craig, by doing this, I think, and it's funny because it's not a great website like Through a Therapist's Eyes is, I got to say.
Cool.
It's real basic.
It's good to see some traffic, though, right?
Real basic. So, gosh.
You need to get a tech guy to update that thing for you.
I know, right, Craig? Love and Logic. This is part of what I kind of refer to as that trifecta. The trifecta. You know what trifecta is? I looked it up.
Yeah, it's a Spartan thing, right?
No, it's a bet in which the person betting forecasts the first three finishers in a race in the correct order.
Ah, well, the finishers of a race in the correct order. The Spartan Sprint, Super, and Beast. Trifecta.
Okay, well, all right. Well, I didn't know that.
See, now I'm teaching you something.
I know, absolutely. I'm learning all the time. The trifecta in the mental health is just in my brain. I've mentioned it with the EFT, Old Classic 11. Came out on Halloween. We were talking about marriage. And I didn't plan that. That's crazy, but it's the way it worked out. And then Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace. He does a great job to help couples manage money and family and the emotions together. And this is the third part of the trifecta because, Craig, it made a big difference, revolutionized in a lot of ways the way I work with parents and families and my own kids in my own head and my own life. Love and Logic. They nail how to manage kids in a way that is totally different than typically people do. So strap your seatbelts on. We're going to try to move fast because we agreed we want to try to keep it within our 30-minute time frame. This is another one that I kind of want to go longer on. So bear with us if it's 5 minutes over or whatever. Love and Logic. What do you do, Craig, currently for current in your head? I love catching them on the spot, audience. What do you do for discipline?
Discipline.
How do you discipline your kids?
I think it depends on the
strategies.
It depends on what they do.
Yeah, what do you do?
I guess it depends on what they do. I think most time it's a good talking to and some kind of grounding. There have been times in the past where they've gotten a spanking for whatever reason. But most of the time it's just talking to them, taking something away, grounding them, not letting them go to their friend's house, something like that.
Yeah. It's really funny because in sessions when I'm working with kids, I always ask as a part of a standard question to kind of get an idea on how the family's function, and I will always ask about discipline. What kind of discipline strategies do you guys use? How does this work in your home? And honestly, almost 100% of the time, man, I pretty much get privilege loss.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much that's the extent of what we think about when you think discipline strategies, privilege loss. And I'm going to maintain that is completely inadequate. Completely inadequate.
Okay.
And based on actually kind of your answer is a cool answer because there's a relationship that you have with your kids that you want to build, grow, and really teach life lessons. And so if I ask the question, how do you teach life lessons to your kid, which is really what discipline is about, you might get a little bit more thought, you might get a little bit more introspection and discussion about what people really do with that. But we don't think about teaching life lessons with discipline. So that's You're kind of talking to me about takeaways. That's a takeaway. Discipline really isn't just to punish a kid. The whole point is to present to a child a learning situation where they're going to learn some sort of life lesson from this.
Yeah. Well, even in there's always that component,
So another piece that I want to get from that get-go here, man, parenting, thought of in my brain as the thankless job. It's thanklessness, man. You watch a kid in the restaurant acting up, and what do you think about that situation? A lot of times, if you're being honest with me, you're going to say, oh my God, those parents, what are those parents doing? Why can't they get control of their kid? For crying out loud, they're throwing stuff on the floor. Who does that? You know?
Yeah, that's true.
Parents.
A lot of times, that's what you think.
Parents out there, I'm one of them. Craig's one of them. We get blamed, and we blame each other. Stop it. It's like, can we stop that in our own head? Because parents, we're up against a vast array of challenges. And this show hopefully is going to give you some things that you can really take to implement in a real way in the keyword relationship with your kids. Key thought to teach them life lessons when they're engaged in problems. It's a whole different perspective. I really encourage people. Show notes, right? We'll have loveandlogic.com. It's a great resource thing. I looked on there today. They got like 64 different links to different books. Might have been one book with an e-book and another version of the same thing in print and whatever. But there's 64 different clicks that I just at a glance found to use as a resource. I'm not a good resource guy. I kind of suck at that. Go to Love and Logic. Go to that. You'll find things on step parenting, things on teenagers, things on toddlers. It is a wealth of information for people that need to understand how to do parenting.
That's interesting because they always say there's no manual for parenting, but apparently there is.
That's as close as you'll get, honestly. I know they didn't come with a book, they say, but dang, yeah, it's real. They have a lot of really good. I'm 20 plus 25 years in therapy, and I'm telling you, this is one of the best things in this topic you can find, truly. So let's launch with it. Let's launch with one of the pieces of the trifecta. This is a high structure strategy with low power structure, high structure system with a low power struggle reality where you teach kids life lessons. That was like a tongue twister. My gosh.
It's hard to follow.
High structure.
High structure.
People want and see a lot of parenting strategies. Oh my gosh, you need structure. You need to hold them in a certain boundary, and you need to iron fist them, crush them, tell them, call down on these kids. Well, not the way we think about it. This is a high structure, but here's a very low power struggle reality with the Love and Logic strategies. And because power struggles will destroy your ability to speak to your kids. And particularly with teenagers, but 3-year-olds. What does a 2-year-old learn? What's the magic word for a 2-year-old?
Stop or no?
No.
Yeah.
They learn how to say no, which is what they're developmentally supposed to do. When we tell them yes, and they're just going to say no. And we're going to say, yes, do that. And they're going to say no, because they're supposed to be developmentally moving into being their own person. So here's the rundown. Basic philosophy is as best as succinct as I can give it with what Love and Logic operates from. It operates from a line of logic, okay? And then we'll talk about this line of logic and how to apply it. The main idea is, kid, I'll use my kid's name, Aaron. He's 17. Aaron, buddy, you can do anything that you want to do, okay? Aaron, you can do anything that you want to do as long as it doesn't cause a problem for someone else. Uh-oh. Yeah, I see that there's a problem here. Oh, no, it looks like you haven't fixed the problem. Don't worry about it. I'll fix the problem. Then, on the back end, you create a solution to the problem because they have refused to fix their problem. And the kid usually doesn't like the parent's solution. So let me say that again real quick. Kid, Aaron, you can do anything you want as long as you don't cause a problem for someone else. Then, when they do, inevitably they will, you point out, looks like there's a problem you've created. Oh, looks like you haven't fixed the problem. No problem. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. That line of logic will save you in so many ways, in so many situations. That right there is worth its weight in gold if you're going to be a parent. This line of logic. Let's talk about how we can apply it and how this really works. So, can the kid really do anything that they want to do? What says you?
As long as it doesn't hurt anybody else.
Just that alone. Can a kid do anything that they want to do?
No.
I would say yes.
Really?
How are you going to stop them? The question is, what do they really want to do? Kids really want to behave. Kids really want to be good. Kids really want to perform well. Kids really want to please you.
So you're saying do anything you want to do.
Anything.
As long as it doesn't hurt anybody else.
That is the kick. And that's something that adults need to learn. You know? I heard somebody say, your right to swing your fist ends where my nose begins. Sure. That's right. So you're not going to get into a power struggle and try to tell them what to do. You'll lose power struggles a lot of the times. Oh, God, did I say that with kids in the car? But kid, listen, you won't win them in the long run because even when you win a power struggle as a kid, you're usually not getting a good result.
You know, I think maybe you should clarify a little bit because I can think of a lot of things a kid could do that wouldn't hurt anybody else that I don't want him to do.
Sure. But then what's going to happen is they're going to have a lot of natural consequences that are going to bust them up one side, down the other, particularly when they're little kids and they're learning this younger. It ain't really going to be that big of a deal.
Such as?
Ride a bike without a helmet. You're learning to ride a bike. You fall down and you scrape your knee. You really should have listened to what we were telling you to do. You want to... the situations go on and on, particularly with little kids. They begin to learn this. Now, you might be starting and you say, oh, well, I got a 15-year-old now. They can get into some stuff.
Right.
And they're real serious stuff.
Yeah.
Scary stuff, dangerous stuff.
I'm a 15-year-old.
And I'll remind you, I got a 13 and 17, and I'll tell you, I heard this guy long ago tell us in a training seminar, safety comes first above all else. And that has played out in my life personally and professionally in many ways. But there needs to be an understanding from parents' perspective, and this sucks. But you said it, Craig. They'll do things you don't want them to do. In many regards, we've got to have a tolerance to let them screw up.
No, I agree with that.
That will block a kid's ability to learn things if we don't let them screw up. Now, hopefully, we're not letting them screw things up, such as driving when they're intoxicated.
Yeah, I think you got to choose what you let them do to mess up. You don't want them driving drunk or doing other things like that. But you do have to learn some hard lessons in life. I don't disagree with that at all.
But by the time they get there, let's also face it, you're also not going to stop them from driving drunk. Now, you can take the keys.
Well, that's true. You
can get into power struggles. As a general rule, enemy number one to parenting, here's a takeaway, is power struggles. You know, you get into power struggles, it's usually about you and your anger and your frustration. And it's not really about teaching them a lesson in some way. So yeah, they could do anything that they want to do. We can apply that in a lot of ways. But as long as it doesn't cause a problem for somebody else. I don't know how much to go into it. I just think of so many examples on things that I've dealt with. I guess I'm going to go ahead and do it. You know, we had a big one where we were really challenged. No, I'll give the easy one. The easier one that's also a big thing because it's I want to respect my kids' privacy. There was a good example of this that I'm going to use is just a common thing that everyone has. The other one, I'll be honest with you, the other one was he just decided to take over a bonus room as his bedroom, and we had to deal with that. So I understand parents. There are big issues that are out there. Like a kid just can't decide to take their own room. And we had to apply some of this to that. That's what I was alluding to.
Yeah.
Now, Aaron will laugh about this when he hears about it at some point. The one I want to use is an example that everyone's had. Parents, how many candy wrappers are on the floor? How many times you have socks thrown over the couch? I mean, I don't know why kids can't figure out that there's an actual garbage can, a linen basket, and a place to put things on a shelf. Am I right? Like,
yeah.
Can they ever figure that out?
Probably not.
I don't understand why that's so complicated. The glasses just go in just put it on the counter by the sink, you know?
You're lucky if that even happens.
I mean, we need a parent support group. You need support. The baseball games, when I'm sitting out there and I've talked to parents, I'm like, oh my God, they don't brush their teeth either? Oh my gosh. So anyway, candy wrappers and stuff laying around all the house. Love and logic. Son, you can do whatever you want to do. It's fine. And he said, okay, that's great. I love that. And I said, as long as you don't cause a problem for somebody else. Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to cause a problem for anybody else. My kids don't. They really don't, Craig. I'm pointing around, and I took a week or two, and I started picking everything up. Funny. Finally, my son looks at me. He's like, Dad, why are you telling me that you're picking up my shoes? Why are you telling me all this? And it's like, I just want you to understand what's going on, man. I got low energy, and I'm just picking this stuff up, and I wanted you to know. So then, about a week later of this, I told him, I was like, man, this is really causing a problem, buddy. We've got a problem, and you need to fix the problem. He's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I'll pick the stuff up. Of course. Does he? No. So don't worry about it, Aaron. No problem. I'll take care of the problem. So I, one night, gathered up all of his stuff, and I piled it on a pile in front of his room, and I put a little note on there. I said, son, we've talked about all the stuff that's around the room. Here's an example of what I picked up last night, and we just don't have but so much energy, so we're not going to be washing your clothes anymore. I think your mom taught you a couple months ago, how to do that. It's not too hard. Folding them kind of sucks, but you'll get through it. Just so that you know, we're going to reserve our energies, and we're going to pick all this stuff up, but we're not going to be washing your clothes anymore. You can do whatever you want to do, as long as it doesn't cause a problem for anybody else, pointedly me or his mother. And when there's a problem, you got to fix it. If you refuse to fix it, no worries, no problem. No power struggle. I'll take care of the problem. Now you put into some creativity, and this applies in so many ways. Not a trick question. Do you think he started picking stuff up?
No.
Correct. Does this work?
Doesn't sound like it.
It really works. My energies were reserved, and I didn't wash his clothes, neither did his mother. Do you think he washed his clothes?
No.
For how long?
I'm sure he did eventually if you wanted clean clothes.
The answer is yes. The answer is yes, he did. And he learned how to clean clothes. And he actually now, years later, has figured out that he can actually pick stuff up. He's much better about this issue because he learned through these ways that we interact how to really apply this. It teaches him life lessons. You don't always get the exact way, but you got to think the big picture when you're trying to apply this stuff. Talk about energy. Here's a point that these guys talk about. Energy is what we talk about. My kids were in the car with their friends, and I had been talking to them. Man, if I had better energy, man, I'd be glad to take you to the game, but I don't have any energy, and we didn't go. So they got to the point, Carson, if you're out there, buddy, hey, Carson, he's like, so, Mr. Chris, how's your energy today? I got asked that question more than once when I was using this pretty broadly. And it was because they wanted something, Craig, but guess what? They were thinking in advance about how to best get a request met with consideration of the fact that whom I'm asking needs to have positive energy. How mature is that?
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
They're thinking. If you begin to change the way that you interact, you begin to change the way that they're thinking and problem solving. So talk about your energy. Have energy drains. Guys, I'd love to be able to do that tonight, but I just don't have the energy to really do it. And the truth is, you don't, because you have to protect your energy and not give everything to your child. Your priority to your wellness needs to be yourself. Parents forget that. They'll cut their right arm off if they think it's going to benefit their kid. And I'm not saying that's bad, but you need your right arm. Unless you really have to cut your arm off, metaphorically, obviously. So energy is a big point with this. Guard against the energy drain kids create. Craig, kids suck the life out of you.
No. Say it ain't so, Chris.
They suck the life out of you. So they will be respectful of your energy levels if you're talking about it in a genuine way to help them learn how to appropriately ask people considering the other person they're asking. The main point that these guys are making is help the kid learn how to problem solve. You cannot solve their problems for them. You can't. You can try, but you won't be able to solve their problems. They have got to learn how to solve their own problems. Little kid who's 2 years old tells you no, he wants to learn how to tie his shoe. Well, you're going to teach him, but is he going to get it right?
Not right away, no.
I remember sitting for hours when I was a kid, alone, trying to do that.
Mm-hmm.
They have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was probably looking out the window, sad at my frustration. You got to watch that.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard to sit back. It's why we get into power struggles and try to solve their problem for them.
Mm-hmm.
You see, switch that up. Let them solve their own problems. You're probably going to be a big part in helping them to identify that there's a problem. My kid actually said, "Oh, Dad, it's not a problem." I said, "You're taking the bonus ring." He's like, "No, it's not a problem." I was like, "Oh my God, this is a huge problem. You're making a huge decision that's affecting the entire family." But to him, it wasn't a problem. But stop solving it for him. We worked through that with him, and he is in his room again. By the way, energy drain, helping them solve their own problems. This is a big one that they talked about a lot too. You got to convey true and genuine caring for this child. This child's really struggling. They're struggling with really simple things, it looks like to you in your adult brain, but they don't even have a developed adult brain. They're really struggling, and they want to do a good job, even when they're acting like a crazy, mean teenage kid that says, "I don't care about you." Don't believe it. Don't buy it. Convey that you genuinely care for the child, even when you're in discipline cycles. These guys in their writings give a lot of dialogue. They say, "Hey, listen, Aaron, I know it's really hard, man, to fix these problems. I know it's really hard that you're bored studying. That's a tough one." And then you walk away and you leave it be because they have to figure it out. How do you deal with boredom? Are you really going to be able to teach them? Yeah, they got to figure it out. Let me make the point that I think I'm giving clear logic lines here. But this whole system, if you get a chance to go to a Love and Logic conference, they're out there. Look them up. Get to one. I went to this conference and I was lasered in on everything they were saying the whole time through, which, as you guys know by now, I don't really get from conferences as much. Although, for the therapist listening, you hear me say that, but then you hear me also talk about all these things I picked up in conferences. I know that's a contradiction, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
It definitely is.
So this is one that I was locked on with, man, big time. And at this conference were teachers, parents, therapists, counselors, and clergy. Anybody who works with kids. And he made the point, we're sitting here for 7 hours in a conference. He's like, "Are you really going to get the whole philosophy of what we're talking about?" And the reality of it is, you're not. You're gonna get a good bit of it, but you're really going to need to get a lot more fuller view through a conference. Way worth the $300 or whatever it is to do that, or their books. They need to give me some profit though, right, Craig?
Right.
What are you hearing so far? What are you hearing so far insofar as using typical discipline strategies to punish a kid, take privileges away, versus letting them do anything they want to do?
Well, I'm hearing some good stuff there. I mean, I do think that kids I think you do have to learn life lessons, Someday Aaron's going to have to wash his own clothes anyway, right? I mean,
Yeah.
And learn how to think and solve problems. We had Dan Miller on the show back in a few shows ago. And I think there's such an emphasis on education these days, and learning book smarts and school smarts and that kind of stuff. But, Dan would say the person that learns how to solve problems is going to be the one that really makes it in his life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I believe that 100%.
Right. It is a good point, and he did talk about that when he was on our show.
Yeah. I remember my son had a homework assignment over a weekend a couple of years ago. And he came to me and he said, "Dad, I forgot my book. I'm not going to be able to finish my homework assignment." And I said, "Oh, yeah, you are too." And he says, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "You got a problem, right?" He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "You don't have a book." I said, "You got to find a solution to that problem."
That's right.
So what he ended up doing was contacting some of his classmates, and one of those guys had a book, and he ended up hooking up with his buddy Sunday afternoon and borrowing the book and getting his homework done. He had a problem. He found a solution.
Kids are resourceful.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times my kids have found rides to places that they had a problem because they couldn't get to it, because I had told them no or whatever, or I wasn't available. They're resourceful, man. When they want to get something done, and usually they're really wanting to get it done, they won't let you know it. This is my own thought. This is probably one of my own original thoughts in this talk today, Craig, but here's one for you. When it comes to parenting, I believe we need to develop some x-ray vision. And all I mean by that is when you're dealing with your kids, they show you they don't care. They show you that you're not important by all the nonverbal ways and verbal ways. Like I said a little bit ago, they will say, I don't care what you think. Listen, parents, little tip. When they're in my therapy office and the parents in the room, that kid looks nasty. I mean, they're nasty sometimes, ugly, nasty, and loud and obnoxious and oppositional. And then you, the parent, leaves the room. How do you think they talk with me? They're fine. And you know what they say? Oh my gosh, they're so mean to me. They don't let me do this, and they're always on me, my case about that, and this and that, and I just wish they would listen to what I'm saying, and they don't care what I'm saying. Does that sound like a kid who doesn't care?
No.
Yeah. They care deeply.
Yeah, and I've been around kids in the same situation. The parents are there; they're a different kid than when it's just you and the kid by themselves. I've seen that kind of thing happen before. Let me ask you this though, man. We're talking about these problem solving and finding solutions and stuff like that, and that to me, with a kid like Aaron's a great kid if he's listening. I think a lot of Aaron, and my son's 15, but what about a young kid who's, like you said, learning how to tie his shoes, 2 years old or 5 years old?
Good point.
I mean, is it the same approach with those younger kids who are not developed and thinking logically, or
absolutely? It's an excellent point.
They just want the toy. They don't.
It's an excellent point, and they have whole different materials for toddlers and stuff, but I think that the same thing really applies. That little kid in elementary school can do whatever he wants to do as long as it doesn't cause a problem for somebody else. And when there's a problem that gets developed, then they need to take care of it. If they don't take care of it, the parent will take care of it. And that looks like, homework. All right, does that mean they don't do any work for all of the month for elementary school? That you've got to be okay with that, because they're going to learn a lesson if you carry x-ray vision and you look at it in a longer, bigger perspective, and then you come around on the back end of it and solve the problem. Well, what does that look like? That's where the parent's really challenged. So you need to figure out what is going to happen when the kid doesn't do this or doesn't do that, and inevitably they won't. So you have to figure out what is the response, what's the solution to the problem. And a lot of times that's where parents struggle, because their answer is, I don't know, because all I got is privilege loss. And I'm fine with that, guys. Take the phones away, take the privileges away, ground kids, spank them. By the way, I'm a therapist. To blow a myth out, therapists aren't against spanking kids. Now, I will say about spanking, by the way, my own original thought too, when cognition becomes involved, spanking your kids becomes very much less effective. So with little kids, you pop them on the hand, you pop them on the butt, whatever, because they're not really doing a lot of thought. You try to spank a 14-year-old kid,
yeah,
stop it. But parents do, man.
Yeah.
They do, because they hear other people saying, oh, spare the rod. Come on. There's a lot of ways to deal with behavior.
Yeah.
Challenge yourself to think, what am I going to do? A little kid might be disruptive who's a toddler, and it might be, hey, that's a problem. He's grabbing the curtains. So if I just crinkle a piece of paper over here, they become interested in that, and I toss it. Their problem is solved because they're just curiously touching stuff. Well, they want to touch this crinkly thing. To get back to your question with toddlers and kids.
Yeah.
Instead of, stop touching that. Don't touch that. Why are you destroying the curtains?
Yeah.
Well, the kid doesn't understand that. You just tell him to stop. We need to be more creative and more thorough. Short time that I've got, but trying to get a lot into a small period of time.
Yeah, we should dig back into this topic down the road, because this, what you just said about the young kid not doing his homework is interesting.
Yeah.
Because, how does he learn what the consequences of that thing, of that how does he learn the consequences of not doing his homework? And if a month goes by and he hadn't done his homework and he's going to have to repeat the second grade or whatever it is.
So they talk about lots of specific examples and material, and it just popped in my head a little bit. Here's maybe a possible solution for a little kiddo who doesn't want to. He earns money by picking up sticks in the yard. And then that money that he earns is sitting in his little piggy bank, and he's not doing very good in his classes. I see that you have a problem, but don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. And you get a friend that comes in, and he's going to be your tutor. So you have a tutor because you really haven't done your homework. And, oh, by the way, he wants $5 an hour, so you'll have to work that price out with him.
Huh. Interesting.
So now the fourth grader's got $15, $20 because he picked up sticks and worked hard to gain his money, and he's got to pay $5 to his tutor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
There's lots and lots of ways in that. Power struggles won't work real well. Craig, I'm just going to read through these super quick to give you an idea of a flavor. I mean, there were so many cliff notes that I made in this conference writing somewhat to myself, guys, so that I remember them. We're not going to have time to talk about them, but I want to at least read them to give you a little bit of a flavor of what you'll get in Love and Logic. Okay, so the more words I use when things are going wrong, the less effective I become. That was specifically for me because I'm obviously pretty wordy. Very, very wordy, this topic.
No, say it ain't so.
This episode, I know I'm talking a lot.
On this topic? You wordy on this topic?
Come on. When you get the I can't response from a kid, because of course they're going to say, well, I can't do that. A good response that I wrote down for a reminder to myself is, well, aren't you glad I don't believe that? You say that to kid, and then you walk away. Questions creating thinking is the goal. Statements create resistance. So you ask the kid questions. You don't make statements at him and tell him, because that'll create resistance. Quote, no problem. I respect you too much to argue with you about it. I'll take care of it. Next, when I'm too angry to think straight, delay the consequence. You don't have to deal with that in the moment. Kids learn to make great decisions about the big stuff by making plenty of poor decisions about the smaller stuff and then experiencing consequences. Next, when you can't think of a consequence, have an energy drain. Oh man, my energy is so drained, and I don't think I can go get that ice cream. I'm just going to watch this movie. Energy drain.
Okay, yeah.
Protect your energy and let the kid know that.
Yeah, it's not like you said an energy drink.
No. Yeah, you need an energy drink with a lot of
this. Have an energy drain.
It all comes down to empathy. Do this, then deliver the quote, bad news. Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't take care of this problem. It's been a really big problem. And then deliver the bad news, the punishments. Anger and frustration makes the problem mine, the parent. Empathy allows it to remain the child's problem. I thought that was a cool quote.
That's pretty cool there. There
will never be enough reward or consequences to get kids that want to behave and to learn we are not developing, and to learn if we're not developing relationships. That was a quote that I wrote down because they were really big about, listen, develop the relationship with your kid. The best parenting conversations happen at a fishing pond or on the way to dance practice. The relationships, when watching a game, I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations during a Pittsburgh Steelers game. 52-17, by the way, with the Carolina Steelers. Next, I'll be happy to blank, blank, blank when I feel respected. I thought that was a cool quote. You want me to fix lasagna for dinner? Well, I'll be happy to when I feel respected. And then you get the fritters out of the fridge. Fritters are meat patties for those that don't know. Don't give choices that create problems for me as the parent. I was always big on choices. I thought I was doing a good job, and I was in a lot of ways. But you know what? Sometimes I was creating a problem for myself. Do you want steak for dinner or do you want cereal for dinner? Well, if you really got to be prepared to make steak. So choices are good, but I liked that philosophy. They are really about protecting, Craig, the parent's energy and the parent's ability to teach life lessons, rather than run around with your head cut off, completely drained of energy, irritated, frustrated, and tired, and wanting to give up at the end of a day. That's what parents feel like.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Protect your priority, which is yourself, so that you can really enable yourself to teach life lessons.
That's a good point, right? when you get on an airplane, they always say put the oxygen mask on yourself first, because if you run out of oxygen, you can't help the kid.
I've said that many times to parents, and that's a legitimate biological direction as much as it is a metaphorical direction when you're coming home from work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
You'll die in the airplane if you put it on your kid first.
That's right.
And you'll die inside if you do that consistently in your life.
True.
How's that for a quote?
Very true. Take care of number one.
And that's important. So we ran over a little bit. I know I talked a lot because there's a lot to deliver with this. I hope I didn't overdo that, but there's a lot of information. And you're right, Craig. We'll get back to it, because I was thinking about that for the listening audience to kind of understand. We're covering some topics. There's a lot of topics to hit. Bear in mind, particularly I got feedback on the substance abuse one. They're like, man, that was a very big overview. We are going to go back and we'll take pieces of each one of these things in time as we go on, because we're going to be on the show hopefully for 5-10 years, maybe
Hopefully
15,
so. Yeah,
keep going.
I hope so. We're having a lot of fun with this thing, and hopefully it keeps going.
Go ahead and take us out of here a little bit, or your closing thoughts, and I'll tell you what we'll do next in my mind if you agree. But wrap us up a little bit.
Yeah. So if you're a first-time listener, welcome. If you're a repeat listener, then welcome back, and thank you all. And if you are enjoying the show, we'd appreciate it if you would subscribe and leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Be sure to go to our website, throughwhattherapists.com, and sign up for our email list so we can keep in touch with you that way. We also have links to our Facebook and Instagram out there. And we do have show notes and links to things we talk about for each specific show. And you can also listen to the show right there on the website too. Chris, I think that is about it, unless I left anything out.
That'll do. I spaced out because I wanted to tell you what I think I wanted to do next. A little bit random, but there's a big issue with bipolar disorder. And I have identified in my mind a very big confusion on what is bipolar disorder. Came out in the 90s or maybe early 2000s, like everybody was getting diagnosed with this. And so actually I was talking to a nurse practitioner friend of mine. Hey, Carol. Man, she's like, I want people to know what bipolar is not. Yeah, because it's everyone's bipolar nowadays.
Interesting.
And psychiatrists like to prescribe medications. Is one of the reasons why it gets diagnosed a lot, when really there's a lot of other things going on. So I want to kind of hit on bipolar, what it is and what it isn't next time.
Looking forward to that one.
Sound too random or interesting?
Sounds good. I think it's good. I don't know what bipolar. I mean, I think I know what it is, but probably not.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll go with it next if you're in agreement.
I'm in agreement.
As long as we don't have any other major national events going on.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Let's take a break from that. Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot, folks.